Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Oh, this is going to be a fun one.
I know, right? Kylie Jenner's fashion choices at the Golden Globes this year.
Yeah, what a statement.
We're going to be looking specifically at an article from QOI magazine about it.
Of course, QOI, they always have the inside scoop on all things celebrity style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Jenner attended to support her boyfriend, Timothée Chalamet, who was nominated for his role in A Complete Unknown.
That movie was incredible.
Oh, I know. I heard he was phenomenal in it.
Really gave a powerful performance. And
Yeah.
his suit was amazing, too. Super sleek Tom Ford.
Oh, from Hader Ackerman's time there.
Yeah, really interesting choice.
It is.
But let's be honest, everyone's talking about Jenner's dress.
That silver chainmail Atelier Versace gown.
Straight from the 1999 Spring-Summer collection.
Vintage Atelier Versace at the Golden Globes.
I mean, talk about making an entrance.
Now, for those who might not know, could you explain what makes Atelier Versace so special?
Sure, it's basically their haute couture line.
Oh,
You know, one-of-a-kind pieces handcrafted with the most luxurious materials.
wow.
Like the peak of Versace's design and craftsmanship.
So for Jenner to choose vintage Atelier Versace for the Golden Globes, that's a real statement.
Absolutely, and it's not just any vintage Versace.
Right. The QOI article pointed out some serious similarities to a dress Elizabeth Hurley wore back in the 90s.
Oh yeah, that iconic Versace chainmail dress she wore to a movie premiere with Hugh Grant.
Huge fashion moment back then, how Jenner's kind of referencing it.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what she's trying to communicate through her style choices.
And it's not just a one-time thing either.
You
right?
know, not at all. Last year at the Golden Globes.
She wore that black lace Hanae Mori gown.
QOI definitely picked up on some Hurley vibes from that one, too.
So this consistent channeling of Hurley's style.
Makes you think, is she consciously creating a link to that fashion legacy?
It's a really good question.
QOI seem to love it.
They called it a nod to the past and a breath of fresh air.
But I wonder if there's more to it.
All right, like what's the deeper meaning behind these choices?
Well, choosing vintage for events like the Golden Globes isn't super common.
Especially for someone as young and trend-setting as Jenner.
Exactly. Could it be a subtle nod to sustainability?
Ooh, that's a good point.
Or maybe a rejection of fast fashion?
That's a really interesting thought, especially with younger generations being more conscious of the environmental impact of fashion.
Right. Wearing a vintage dress to a huge event like that could be seen as taking a stand.
And let's not forget about that Hurley connection.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the 90s, that Versace dress on Hurley caused a bit of a stir.
Definitely some saw it as empowering, others felt it was overly sexualized by the media.
So is Jenner reclaiming that look on her own terms?
Possibly. It could be a way of saying, I appreciate its history and power, not how others might perceive it.
That adds a whole other layer to her fashion choices.
And it's not just about the dress itself, it's the context.
Right, she's at the Golden Globes to support Chalamet.
Exactly. He's nominated for A Complete Unknown.
And speaking of Chalamet, he went for a totally different look that night.
Oh, yeah, that classic Tom Ford suit.
But from Hader Ackerman's time there.
Right.
I wonder, for our listeners who might not be familiar with Ackerman's work, could you give us a little background?
Sure, Hader Ackerman is known for these beautifully tailored, kind of androgynous designs.
I see.
His work for Tom Ford was super interesting, blended his signature style with that sleekness and sophistication Tom Ford is known for.
So Chalamet, choosing that particular suit shows his understanding of fashion history.
Yeah, and his appreciation for craftsmanship.
It almost feels intentional, like both Jenner and Chalamet's fashion choices are super deliberate.
Absolutely, they're not just wearing clothes, they're curating an image.
And that image is especially interesting when you consider their relationship.
Oh, totally.
They're so private despite being one of the most talked about couples.
Yeah, the QOI article mentions how they've been spotted together here and there.
Like on that recent trip to New York City for the holidays.
Right. But they keep things pretty low-key.
Which is fascinating.
In a world where so many celebrities share every detail of their lives online,
Jenner and Chalamet are choosing to keep some mystery.
it makes their red carpet appearances even more intriguing.
It's like we're getting these little glimpses into their world.
But only on their terms.
And it definitely gets people talking.
QOI even predicted they'll become a Golden Globe staple.
Captivating the world with their style and that air's mystery.
For sure.
So what do you think is this low-key approach, a genuine desire for privacy or a carefully crafted PR strategy?
That's the million-dollar question, and I think it's something we need to explore a little deeper.
Yeah, let's dig into how their relationship dynamic plays into their public image and branding.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, so we've talked about their style, their looks, But I really want to get into like their relationship
Mm,
and how that all plays into this brand they've kind of built as a couple.
definitely. It's a huge part of their image. This whole intentional privacy thing.
It's like the opposite of what we see from a lot of celebrity couples these days.
Right. Like everyone's on social media sharing everything.
All the time.
Every little detail of their life, their relationships. But Jenner and Chalamet are different.
Totally.
They're like bucking the trend.
And it's working for them, right?
It totally is. It creates this like mystery,
Yeah.
this want to know more.
They're letting their work speak for itself.
Their appearances, the things they choose to share.
So do you think this low-key approach is genuine or is it calculated?
I mean, it could be a little of both, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe they really do value their privacy.
Right, want to keep things separate.
But there's no denying that this approach makes them even more interesting.
It's true. It kind of reminds me of old Hollywood
Oh, yeah?
when stars were more,
Enigmatic.
exactly, less accessible.
Makes them seem exclusive.
You wonder if other couples will follow suit.
Maybe, like, is this the start of a new trend?
Less sharing, more mystery.
Could be in a world that's so saturated with information.
Sometimes less is more.
For sure. It's,
Yeah.
it's almost like they're saying we're not playing by the rules.
Yeah, doing things their own way.
Which is reflected in their fashion, too.
Right. Jenner's not just picking any vintage dress.
Nope, she's making a statement.
It's like she's communicating something.
Using fashion to express her individuality.
And her connection to fashion history.
And Chalamet, too, with that Tom Ford suit from Ackerman's era.
It's so intentional.
It shows his knowledge, his willingness to embrace different styles.
They're both creating these distinct but complementary personas.
And together, it makes them even more powerful as a couple.
Stylish, successful, private.
That's a winning combo?
But do you think this commitment to privacy could ever backfire?
It's definitely a risk.
Like people might want more.
More connection, more access.
Right. And not getting that could create this distance.
Yeah, but it could also have the opposite effect.
How so?
It could make their fans even more loyal.
I guess like they're in on something exclusive.
Exactly. It's a tricky balance.
They've managed to generate buzz without sacrificing their privacy.
Totally. It all comes down to careful image management.
Strategic branding.
They're controlling their own narrative.
Creating an image that resonates.
Sophistication, individuality, and a love for both fashion and privacy.
Exactly. They're not following trends.
They're setting them.
And they're doing it all on their own terms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've talked about their style, their relationship, their brand.
Yeah, it's been a good discussion.
But what does all this mean for the future of celebrity fashion
Ooh,
and celebrity culture in general?
that's a great question. We should definitely explore that further.
Let's dive into the bigger picture.
The broader implications of their approach and how it might influence others.
Love it. Let's do it.
We-
Okay, so we've really dissected Jenner and Chalamet.
Their style, their relationship, their whole brand?
It's fascinating.
Right.
But I keep thinking about like the bigger picture.
Yeah, what does it all mean for celebrity fashion and celebrity culture in general?
Exactly.
It's like they're almost reacting against all the oversharing we see these days.
Right. That constant social media presence.
Like they're saying, we're doing things differently.
Totally. Could this signal a shift, you think?
Maybe a return to like a more curated approach.
So instead of being everywhere all the time
You're more strategic about your appearances.
and what you share,
Right. And that could actually make those appearances even more impactful.
I see what you mean.
Think about it when Jenner and Chalamet show up on a red carpet.
It's a big deal.
It's an event because we don't see them all the time.
Their presence is more valuable because it's rare.
Exactly. And their fashion choices become even more significant.
Because they're not just following trends.
They're making deliberate statements.
Like Jenner's vintage Versace.
That's not just about fashion, it's a cultural statement.
Right. It's like individuality, knowing your history, expressing yourself.
And what about Chalamet's suit?
That nod to Hader Ackerman at Tom Ford.
It speaks to this appreciation for craftsmanship.
And tailoring.
It's not just about the brand name,
It's the story behind the clothes.
the history, the artistry,
So moving away from fast fashion.
and towards quality pieces with meaning.
Could this influence others, do you think?
I mean, it's possible if more celebrities embrace this idea.
It could trickle down to consumers.
People might start thinking more consciously about their own fashion choices.
That's a pretty powerful thought.
It is. Celebrities have always had a huge influence on fashion.
But now it's not just about what they wear.
It's the message behind it.
Their values, their individuality.
And Jenner and Chalamet are definitely leading the way.
Well, we've covered so much ground today.
We've talked about everything.
Jenner's, Versace, Chalamet's, Tom Ford, their relationship, their brand.
and how it all ties into the bigger picture.
But before we wrap things up,
Final thought.
I want to leave our listeners with something to ponder.
What do you have in mind?
What does Jenner and Chalamet's image say about our culture right now?
Ooh, good one.
Are they reflecting a desire for more privacy,
For authenticity in this crazy world,
where everyone's constantly overexposed?
are they setting a new standard? Or are they just an exception to the rule?
That's for our listeners to decide. I guess only time will tell.
But one thing's for sure,
They're definitely shaking things up.
and I can't wait to see what they do next.
Me neither.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into celebrity style and branding.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious.